Hello and welcome back to After 21, everybody. How are you doing, Rhea? It's been a while, Crocodile.
I'm good. I think you have the more interesting story right now.
Yeah, well, I'm in my new apartment. I think we've already covered this, though.
I think we've covered that, but I don't think we've covered that you're currently locked in your bedroom.
Oh my goodness, guys, it's 12:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and I got back. I was chatting with Rhea. I shut my bloody door for the first time in my entire life, and now I can't open it. And I called my roommate, and of course, my roommate's obviously not going to be home because it's a Friday night and she's living her life. She was just like, it's going to take me a while. So I was just like, you know what? This is a good time to record an episode. Screw it. If I don't make it out alive, I still have water. So,
Well, on the positive side, you can live with just water for a few days. I think it's like 3 days, so you'll be fine.
God, I just know tonight is going to be a long night.
All good. At least you get to record a podcast.
Exactly. This is productivity at its finest. But what are we talking about today, Ria?
So today we are going to be talking about a combination of mindset shifts and just body image shifts once you get into your mid 20s. I know we've talked a lot about fitness and even like how your fitness routine kind of changes, but something we've recently discovered is as we dive deeper into our 20s and life gets more busy and honestly adulting becomes more of a reality, you start to have certain mindset shifts about what the perfect body image looks like and what kind of role that plays in your life.
I mean, we've talked about how Chloe Ting has that whole like 3 week, 2 week abs, bikini bod abs, and all of those like 30-day workouts that work for you. But I think personally speaking, maybe that was our college mentality or early 20s mentality where we were
Yeah.
just like, I want that bikini bod. Right now, I know that's freaking unrealistic considering our lifestyle and
Yeah.
also just like marking maybe our actual quarter life crisis in terms of like we're almost 25 and responsibilities are piling up and we're moving up in our professional lives and we're moving cities and it's really not that simple anymore to kind of look at yourself in the mirror. I often think it's like a complex problem to have because you're like, I want to be fit, but then you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, well, this is not what I wanted my body to be like. But then reality is you're working, you're moving, and you're changing, and all of these priorities are shifting constantly.
I think it's also the difference between sometimes a physical appearance doesn't necessarily mean a healthy body, and that's
Yeah.
something that we all often forget.
Yeah.
Um, and I think for a while when you're younger, that's kind of top of mind. You know, you want to look the sexiest, you want to look the best, but also as you get older you realize that it's a combination being sexy or looking the best whatever is a combination of mental stability as well as physical stability
Yes.
as well as honestly internal stability. You know, people always say health is wealth, which includes like having working body, having a working muscles. And if you overkill yourself trying to create a specific physical image, sometimes you're hurting your joints, you're hurting your mental health by doing things like not eating as much, not giving yourself as much energy, or even putting that kind of stress on you, which is worse in the long run.
I'm so glad you brought this point up because so this is like a personal example. I've been hanging out with a lot of 30-year-old friends now in Bangalore, which is like not necessarily like, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but like I do notice how when I interact with them and I say, what do you kind of look for in your partner or whatever, it's so interesting to hear how they say, oh, we want someone who's nice, we want someone who can vibe with us, who can have a banter. But looks really comes down at the very bottom. Like I've begun to notice this too, like in my workspace, in my like regular life cycle, I have seen just people of all shapes and sizes and body types, and yet their confidence is what shines through and not their body image. Hello? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
I'm here.
Yeah. it's their confidence that shines through over the body image. And
Yeah.
I have begun to even like put less emphasis on how I want to look. You know what I mean? Like, I still remember the 21-year-old me kind of obsessing over that bikini body or wanting to look a certain way, wanting to look attractive, thinking physical appearance really is what makes it count. But as I've gotten older, you bring about that point of maturity and like mental
Yeah.
stability,
Yeah.
which is something I wish my younger me could have understood in the past. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. I think it's also kind of starting to get to that realization that often like looks fade. It's what is on the inside that counts. And it's not saying that you shouldn't care about your physical appearance, that's still something that is important always, but it doesn't need to take as heavy as a priority sometimes in your life. And if that is something that you want to take a priority in your life too, there's certain professions where that just has to be what it is. But for the regular person who is just doing a lot of things, it doesn't have to be an added stressor.
Yeah. And I think like that's an important takeaway for our audience in general, that what was that takeaway again?
That when it's okay to have that mindset shift.
Yeah.
It's okay to be like, yeah, you know what? I've changed. My mindset is now just about keeping myself healthy.
Yeah. But you know what? I also want to bring in that real card, of how it kind of is like when your body is changing, right? Like your body does change and it's the truth. And if you're a woman, it changes drastically as you grow older. Like I can't digest fried food as well as I used to anymore. Like I I don't
I
know what
can't
it
have
is.
eggs.
Oh my God, wait, what? You can't have eggs? Oh my goodness.
I found out, I guess, past 2 weeks. I had like my yearly physical, and I'd been having this kind of TMI for people, but I guess actually a lot of girls go through this when they start to reach their 20s. Is you start seeing like bloating. A lot of people are getting diagnosed, I think, with
Yeah.
IBS. And I'd been having a lot of really weird bloating, which honestly messed with my body image a lot too, because I would be like, there's no way that my weight is fluctuating this much. It's not weight, it's bloating. And I brought it up to my doctor, and she thought, okay, let's just run. We're taking blood tests. Let's just run food sensitivity panel as well. And everything you like the normal stuff you would think like dairy, gluten, everything came back fine. And it was a pretty high sensitivity to eggs. So
Wow.
I was like, it
Unreal.
was eggs and shrimp, I think, for me. So I decided to try cutting out eggs, and I am pretty astonished at what the difference is. I think it's been now like 10 days since I've eaten eggs plain, and I'm trying to stay away from egg product as well.
Wow. See, guys, that's exhibit A about how body changes, because I think college us would down eggs left, right, and center every single morning. Like our
Yeah,
immunity or like sustenance to food items are changing. Our body is like, my body is constantly bloated. I don't know if that's because my work hours are so random and I'm eating at random times. I am working out at random times. I am, not sleeping at the right time. All of these have had like a substantial effect on how my body looks. Like, and I'm drinking more now. I don't know what that means because I'm not depressed, but like I'm drinking
it's
on a
just like
Thursday night.
having the social, yeah. I
Yeah.
think it also is a point of sometimes listening to your body, which is like if your body, things like bloating is a body's reaction to something.
Yeah.
So, it's one thing or another, whether it's like you need more sleep, whether it's a food item, whether it's like one thing or another that your body is showcasing either adjustment or non-adjustment to and
Yeah.
telling you something. So there's small signs like that that let you know what's going on. And I think that's also a part of the physical image. I mean, it's even things like I think when you get a pimple, it's usually a sign of your body
Yeah.
going through stress. It's not
Yeah.
like sometimes it's not, sometimes things just happen, but oftentimes it's your body just going through stress.
Yeah. And you know what? I like want to point out through this is kind of like there's this constant contradiction. You know you're going through like things, right? For example, I just moved. Rhea, you are moving. We know the stresses that come with moving and settling into a new city and finding a routine for yourself. And that process can look very different for many people. Like for me, I happen to have put on weight, or you may have too loose weight. Like nobody knows how that affects your body. But this is where I have a problem where I'm guilty of this too, where I know exactly what's going on and I know that I need to make changes, and yet I somehow look at my body and say, this is all your fault. You know what I mean? That is where
Yeah,
like
I think
I
that's how we've been.
conditioned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been conditioned, and I think it goes back to not appreciating your body sometimes and
Yeah.
not realizing that, like, hey, I went through a move and my body sustained me through that move without me getting sick.
Yeah.
It's like the smallest things in the world. So I can completely understand. Like, I'll give you a really good example actually for me this week. My stuff was going. And I also had a pretty high workload. So I hadn't been sleeping very well, or didn't really get the chance to sleep well. I was sleeping like, 3, maybe 4 hours some nights.
Wild.
And I made it to the gym one day and I was on a bike at a cycle class. And I was thinking as I was biking, because I out loud to myself, and I was like, I don't really care what my stats in this class are or whatever. Like, I'm here, I'm moving my body, I'm giving myself exercise, which is good enough. But I thought back to even like a year ago, and I would have been like, you didn't burn 400 calories, you didn't hit these
Yeah.
stats, like whatever. Versus it now, I was like, okay, but I'm at least like, thank you for at least letting me move my body. Like, it's that mindset shift.
Perspective. Yeah. But I think your example kind of brings about this point that I wanted to mention as well. Like, I think perspective change is a big part of growth that comes with like when your priorities shift, right? Like for me, for example, I've been berating myself ever since I've realized my cook had told me the other day, Apoorva, you look like you've put on some weight, and that's good. And it started like rattling with my brain for some reason. And I started berating myself because I was like, I'm only working out like twice a week or thrice a week now. I don't have the time. It makes sense. I don't have the time. So I'm still figuring out a routine. And yet I am still berating myself. Then over like the course of the past 3 days, I was just like, at least I'm going, at least I'm moving, at least I'm doing something, as opposed to like drinking and falling asleep and, eating wrong. At least I'm moving and getting that oxygen in my system, which is all that matters, right? Like 2 years or 3 years ago, like you were saying, Rhea, I would have been like, this is not performance enhancing, you are not helping yourself. But like at this point in my life at 24, when I'm like juggling a new job in a new city, so many different priorities,
Yeah.
you kind of have to reason with yourself and your body and tell yourself that things take time. You got to prioritize what's important. And that's kind of driving our second takeaway too, which is like your priorities shift constantly as you get older, especially in your mid 20s. It's not anymore like you're figuring things out. You're done sort of experimenting. You're still like you're trying to create a base for yourself. And with that comes a lot of changes, including your body and your body image. And you kind of have to reason with yourself, saying a lot of other priorities take priority, for lack of a
Over
better
what?
term.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that like that also brings in us a really good segue into our next thing, which is you also have to realize that you're the one who is making decisions.
Yeah.
And you, it is all in your control. You are making, whoever it is, you are making that choice to work an extra hour, to go out to eat, to socialize, or to go to the gym. And you have to learn to be okay with your decisions. And if you're not okay with your decisions, then you're making the wrong decisions for yourself.
Yeah. I think it's easier said than done, right? Like
Oh,
yesterday,
100%.
like I was gonna have to, I knew I had to sleep, but a friend of mine had called me, and I had had a long day at work, and she was just like, just come and have a drink with us. I was just like, oh, another drink. This is gonna push me back. I knew exactly. the roller coaster of, the actions that would come out of drinking on a Thursday night, right? Like you feel bloated the next morning, you have a headache, and you don't feel great, but I still did it anyway, but it just goes back.
But I think this is a really good example of the decision that you made. And it like you made the decision to go socialize with friends and have a drink, which, yeah, could have put you back in a few ways, but also you had a tough day at work. Maybe you needed that comfort and you needed a little bit of, hey, my life is still going on track. Like it was a decision you made, which was not a bad decision. But when the next day you're like, oh, why did I do this or whatever? You go, no, I made this decision because in the moment, that's what I needed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we are responsible for our decisions that we make. And, you know, again, I go back to this pointer of you have to reason with yourself anytime you have a good day or a bad day when you're looking at your body. I think it's very easy to spiral into that, oh my God, I'm putting on weight, or oh my God, I'm not feeling myself. But I think it's very important to be logical about it and
Mhm.
tell yourself, hey, I know we don't look the way we used to, but what's really happening? Like, what are the factors that are contributing to whatever way we're feeling like? And it's very easy, again, we always say this at any episode, at any point. It's very hard for us I mean, it's very easy for us to say these things and harder to enact it to ourselves in real life. But I think that's the perk of getting older. You are so receptive to so much information in your mid-20s, especially. I think it's very important. You've got a lot going on in general. Your body is your foundation. Like the last thing we need to do is to be mean to it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, with that, that concludes our episode for today, just talking about the body image shift that you get to in your mid 20s. So with that, here are the takeaways for this episode. The first one is it's a mindset shift in your 20s. Your body image is no longer exactly what you thought it was going to be. It doesn't have to be that picture perfect image. It's about your entire body inside and out.
Number two, it's all about the priority shift. As you get older, your priorities change. You don't look at your body the same way, just like you don't look at a lot of things in your life the same way. A large part of what we want to tell you is to reason with yourself, understand that as you grow older, your responsibilities change and your body takes a hit. And that's okay because you learn, you evolve, and you grow.
And the third one is understanding that a lot of the decisions are ones that you make yourself. You are in charge of the narrative, you are in charge of figuring out what's most important to you. And you also make those decisions for a reason. There's no need to be harsh on yourself when you're making decisions in the moment that feel good for yourself. Focus on your end goal. And if you make the wrong decision, there's always a new decision you can make to correct your old decision.
We didn't mention this, guys, but I do want to say, like, obviously, social media has a huge impact. Obviously, the people around you, comparison has a large impact on your body in general. But I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's your confidence, it's your ability to showcase yourself in the best light that shines through over any physical attributes. So, like Rhea said at the start, it's a mix of physical, it's a bit mix of mental, it's a mix of internal aspects. So yeah, we just want to end this episode by saying that confidence is the sexiest, and a confident woman goes a long way over any size 0, size 2 model. So you got this. Stay positive and enjoy the ride, everyone.
Thanks, guys.